Okay. So, my name is Dr. Chinyelu Oraedu, and a lot of you know me as Dr. Yel'Ora. I will be your host today, and also a speaker. And it's almost Mother's Day, and that is why we are hosting the Food and Fortune webinar for women 40 and up. This is a webinar an idea that was conceived when I was having conversation with Dr. Uzamaka Aeke. So I told her that it would be a good idea if we host this webinar and help women 40 and up. So the whole premise of this webinar, I mean, everybody's like, why 40 and up? 40 and up is very important because first of all, we're women, and as women, we are the people who, for the most part, control the food that is being served to our families. And then secondly, also, as women, we are part of the economic, you know, powerhouse in our families and in our communities. So food and fortune has to do with the role that food plays in the family. As you know, we eat for nourishment, we also eat for energy, and we also socialize around food. So women, for the most part, are the nurturers in the family. And when we talk about food, food is medicine, and medicine is an integral part of health. So if food is medicine, food also makes you healthy, and health is wealth. So when we talk about wealth, we talk about fortune, right? We talk about assets, how people acquire assets, how people protect their assets, acquisition of stocks, bonds, real estate. So there's a close relationship between food and fortune. So that's why we named this Food and Fortune webinar. And Akudo was Ozamaka. I had the conversation with her and she said, yeah, we can do this. Let's just pull a team together. So, so that's the premise of the Food and Fortune webinar. And 40 and up is also very important because that's about the age, you talk about menopause transition for most people, you know, from mid-30s onwards. And of course, 40 being a pivotal age, 40 to 50, when people start to have, you know, symptoms. And that's why we also have mental health, Dr. Urena, who is a rising and psychiatrist. So we have like an action-packed, you know, group of female physicians here, and we also have Dr. Eber Azu. So without taking so much time, I want to just dive into what I have for you. And I also have to mention that, you know, the sandwich generation. We talk about the sandwich generation, and these are people that are born within a certain time from 1965 to about 1980.
Computer
So,
name.
so 19, you know, people born from 1965 to 1980. So we are all part of the people that are really at the heart of what is going on, both economically, and I think that if we pull our resources together, that we can actually fight, you know, join in the obesity fight, and also make sure that our families are economically advantaged moving ahead. So I talked about sandwich generation. These are the numbers. So sandwich generation, people like me, my siblings, a lot of us here who are in our 40s, people who have parents and also have children. So we are an integral part of what is of you know, womanhood and the difficulties that we face as we move along. Okay, um, and the sandwich generation here, you can see that this looks like a sandwich. You have your parents, you have your children, and you are squashed in the middle. So this is I mean, these are the group of people that we are speaking to today. People 40 and up. They represent the sandwich generation. And without taking much time, I want to introduce our speakers today. introduction of our speakers. I am your host, and also I'll be a speaker and I'll be a moderator. So thank you very much for those of you who have joined. Thank you for taking out time. Today is Thursday, and I know that we're very busy. So really do appreciate you guys, tuning in and taking your time to join us today. So my name is Chinyelu Oraedu, and I am a physician, academic hospitalist, nocturnist. I do talk about a lot about night shift health and wellness. So I created Dr. Yel'Ora lifestyle and obesity coaching program for night shift workers. In addition to that, I've worked in different areas as a physician, internal medicine, government contracts. I work as physician advisor and perioperative medicine. But my special interest is circadian rhythm. I like circadian rhythm, metabolic health, lifestyle, and obesity medicine. So these are the areas that I do focus on, and I center my coaching around these areas. They are my areas of expertise. And I'm an author. I've co-authored a couple of books, and that was how I met Dr. Ebere Azuma. We co-authored this book, the Warrior Women Project. She was one of the sisters who contributed in this book. So I like community service. I like to do volunteer work. I co-founded the Origins Art Foundation with my children, and we talk about art, youth-centered community activities and collaboration. And I don't think I can finish without talking about my radio show, because I did radio, live radio show, and people tell you that you should always move aside, shift away from your area of comfort. You can only grow when you do uncomfortable things. You just have to do things that make you scared. You have to do things that make you, anxious. I like to say that I am young and mindfully restless. That's how I say it. I have the youthfulness, and I'm mindfully restless because you have to grow. I think when you stop growing, it's almost as if that you've given up on life. So I'm not going to talk too much about myself. I'm just going to give a brief introduction of the other speakers, and they will do justice to their credentials, because the three of them are really, really powerhouses. So Dr. Uzamaka Eke, I know Uzamaka. We've been together. We trained together in Brooklyn. She's an assistant professor at the University of Maryland School of Medicine, Division of Infectious Diseases. She's double board certified in internal medicine and infectious diseases and infectious disease. And she is founder of Noella for Kids. That is a nonprofit she's really very passionate about. In addition to that, she is a licensed, not just that she's licensed, she's knowledgeable, because you can be licensed, but the knowledge is not like at par. She is knowledgeable and licensed. So she's a knowledgeable and a licensed financial professional. And Uzamaka is married. I also know her husband. He's also a professor of OBGYN, maternal and fetal medicine, and at Johns Hopkins. I have to add that because that's big. And she's married and she has 3 beautiful daughters. Okay, so thank you, Zamaka, for doing this. Thank you, Dr. Eke.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Dr. Ebere Azuma. Ebere is also a physician with multiple degrees. She has an MPH. She's a fellow of the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, and also a fellow of the International College of Surgeons. I've known Ebere because we did a project together, and we do chat once in a while, and she's really a powerhouse. And she's an assistant professor of obstetrics and gynecology at Morehouse University in Atlanta, Georgia. And Ebere has done a lot. She's involved in a lot of projects. women's health initiatives, community outreaches, professional organizations, including AMPA. AMPA is the Association of Nigerian Physicians in America. She's also a founder of Mind Your Menses Incorporated, which is her nonprofit. In addition to another coaching, she has a Healthy and Uplifted, which is an executive and life coaching and mentoring organization, that program actually that she also owns, and she coaches medical students. And of course, last but not the least, because I told you guys that everybody here is so action-packed and they have so much information to unravel today. Dr. Urena Anyeji. Urena is also well known to me. Urena is my sister. She is resilient. You know, when you hear resilient, when you hear the word resilient, think Urena. Urena is a final year psychiatry student. Not student, she's a resident, please. Psychiatry resident doctor in New York City, in the Bronx, in New York. She will be graduating next month. So I already have my dancing shoes for that. We're celebrating her graduation. She's already, board certified. She's already certified in child and adolescent psychiatry. She's a fellow. She has a fellowship actually in child and adolescent psychiatry, and she will be child and adolescent, right? Psychiatry, and she will be finishing her residency in adult psychiatry next month. So we have another psychiatrist joining our community. So if you have any needs or know somebody, just get ready to contact Urena. And Urena is based in New Jersey. And I have to say that she just recently presented a paper, a research paper at they just concluded, that was last month, the European Psychiatry Society. So she presented a paper in Madrid, in Spain. So everybody is really on the cusp of something great and doing great things. So let's talk about the obesity epidemic. I'm just gonna browse through this because so many people have been kind of inundated with all this data, and I'm a very visual person. So when I do presentations, I just like to kind of gloss through it. So the obesity pandemic, 1.9 billion adults overweight all over the world. And of course, when you talk about obesity, it's about 650 million people. And it's important to know that some studies will quote 800 million, but it's somewhere around that. And also that childhood obesity has tripled since 1975. And obesity is rising both in the developed and in developing countries. And some of the statistics in the US, 42% of adults were obese, kind of termed as obese in 2022. And globally, the rates is up 70% since 1980. And it's predicted that by 2030, 1 to 2 adults in the US will have obesity. And of course, the hotspots is the US and Mexico, and Saudi Arabia and the UK are also catching up. So I'm going to talk about the health consequence of obesity. Please don't look at this AI-generated slide because it's really creepy, and I wish I could just make it look better, but it's important for us to know that the health consequences of obesity is type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. And these chronic, disorders or diseases are on the increase with obesity. And globally, we have like 4.7 million deaths linked to obesity. This was in 2022. And the cancer impact of obesity is 13 plus types of cancer. Types of cancers have been linked to obesity, including breast cancer, ovarian cancer, endometrial cancer. So it's really important that we talk about this. But this is not for me. I don't want to sound like an alarmist, right? It's just to give you guys information, because remember, this is Food and Fortune webinar, and we want to just unearth some problems so that we can start to find solutions around them. And of course, with obesity, your life expectancy is reduced by up to 8 years. And of course, part of the reason that we have to deal with obesity has to do with diet, highly processed food and sugar, and physical activity. People are sitting for a long time, not moving around. The environment, urbanization, everybody moving to the city, and nobody is walking around. Everybody drives, and of course, marketing of unhealthy food. Our children are being programmed to like and eat certain types of food. And I have to add this, that part of the reason we have obesity is genetics. And this is very important because the obesity is a disease. It's labeled a disease. It's a chronic, it's a relapsing, and is a treatable disease. It's good to have this definition, because 40 to 70% of obesity is hereditary. What that means is that it's your genetics, is what you get from your parents. And we're going to explore this more when we talk metabolism. So we have to also mention the economic impact of obesity. You see all the numbers, a lot of billions, 990 billion spent yearly on healthcare costs, for obesity-related care. When you come to the US, it's about 173 billion in medical expenses, and of course, loss of productivity, like 66 billion linked to obesity-related, diagnosis. So it's a huge drain on the healthcare system. If you have been following the news, you know that in the US, we're having a lot of problem with healthcare workers, burnout. So obesity is adding another layer to the stress that we face in our society. So I'm just gonna go through the prevention. When it comes to prevention and intervention, we talk about school programs, healthy eating, encouraging physical activity in the schools, and policies, and soda taxes, and food labeling, marketing restrictions. I think I overheard recently the president they're gonna look into the schools and food, processed foods in the schools, and there's probably going to be some increased taxation or to help fight childhood obesity. And of course, when it comes to clinical treatment, that's usually where I come in, whether it's medications, whether it's lifestyle changes, and of course bariatric surgery. These are effective options, and of course the community effort, education campaigns to boost public awareness and engagement. So that's why I'm doing this. You can say that we are, this is like a community effort to talk to the women in our community, and to help them, and also to educate them that food is part of healthy nutrition. It's part of the remedy and the treatment to curb the obesity epidemic. Okay. So of course, a few success stories. When you go to Denmark, the country in Europe, they were able to cut back on cardiovascular death by 14% by cutting out trans fat. And in Japan, they have a metabo law that promotes national health screening. So they were moving kind of toward a lot of prevention. If you've been following the news, with everything going on with GLP-1 agonists and compounding pharmacies and regulations and legislation, insurance companies don't want to pay for those medications, which is a different conversation. So there's a lot of push towards preventive medicine, lifestyle medicine. So we'll see what's going to happen with that if we're going to have more policies, health policies around this issue. And of course, in New York City, with the calorie labeling, it led to 15% fewer high calorie, purchases. People now look at the bottle before they drink soda. They notice that, oh, it has like 40 grams of added sugar. So if you were going to drink it, now that you probably will, that would change your behavior. So the lesson here is that it's a multi-level strategy. That is our best, our most effective approach to curb this. And that is why myself and the doctors involved in this webinar, we decided to start by bringing this issue to the surface: food and fortune. Let's talk about food and talk about obesity. So a call to action to combat the epidemic: collaboration, government, industry, community, prevention. We're going to hear a lot about prevention as insurance companies start to cut back on coverage, which is not a good thing, because 70% of obesity is genetic. So they should have access to medication. But we're going to focus on prevention and, of course, prioritize equity and supportive policy changes, and empowerment, providing education. This is part of the role I play as a lifestyle and obesity coach, with a focus on night shift workers, to provide that education and access to health resources. And of course, action, collective action, that obesity is preventable with collective and sustained support. So the key takeaway message here is that obesity is a multifactorial disease that requires multifaceted, patient-centered. It's important that as healthcare providers, as doctors, as nurse practitioners or health coaches, that it's patient-centered. We have to really work with the patient. And of course, if it's individualized, because everybody's situation is different. Everybody has different pre-existing conditions and different drug interactions. And it's a comprehensive approach, because one size, does not fit all. And I wanted to put this photo here to talk about lifestyle medicine and how we focus on the 6 areas, of lifestyle medicine, how focusing on it can improve your health. We have mindful eating. With mindful eating, it's a focus on whole foods and plant-based food. And of course, physical activity, that's number 2. Number 3 of lifestyle medicine is manage stress, for you to develop strategies that help you manage stress. And also avoid risky substances and toxins like smoking, use of drugs and all that, illicit drugs. And number 5 is improve your sleep. Sleep is essential. If you don't sleep well, you don't get sufficient sleep, you may not be able to control your appetite and you will gain weight. And of course, we talk about relationships. We need social networks, and we need to, coexist with other people. So this is the key message in talking about obesity epidemic. And with this, I can say that I have concluded my first assignment as both the host and speaker. And if we have any questions, I will ask that we're going to answer them at the end. I don't know if anybody has any questions at this time. You just put it in the chat, okay? Put it in the chat, and we will get to them, okay? So I'm gonna segue now and talk about the second item that we have, because we have 5 topics for you today. And the second topic, I'm also very, like I said, passionate about circadian rhythm, circadian eating, night eating, metabolic health. So I will talk to you about late night eating. And if you're just joining, I just want to thank you for joining us at this time for this webinar, because food and fortune webinar is very important because it's springtime, right? After spring, then summer, and with spring, we have graduations, baptisms, we have Mother's Day coming up, we have the 4th of July around the corner, we have longer days and shorter nights. So we're going to stay awake longer, we're going to eat, we're going to drink, and hopefully we don't sleep less, but it's important that we talk about late night eating and weight gain. And of course, is it a science or is it a myth? When I was growing up, I always used to hear that if you eat at night, you don't sleep well. Somebody actually told me that when he eats at night, he has nightmares. He gets nightmares at night if he eats late at night. And when we say eating late, I'm gonna give you a little tips about that. But without taking much time, so this is the next topic I'm going to dissect and talk about today. Then I'm going to give up the screen and I will stop speaking. I asked them to go next, and they said continue. Just finish all your slides, and then finish all your slides, then they can start their own presentation. So if you're just joining again, my name is Chinyelu, or can I
where are your brothers? I was looking for mute. Take my lunch bag. Where are your brothers? Take one.
I'm trying to mute.
Are you alone?
Stella. Stella, please, can you mute? I can't even. Okay, she's muted. Thank you so much. Thank you, Stella. Thanks. Appreciate it. So if you're just joining, then we have a second topic. We have like 5 topics today. And this webinar, like I said, is food and fortune. So we're talking obesity, we're talking food, late night eating, weight gain, and we're talking about finances. We're talking about how to, you can, prioritize and also manage your assets. And of course, how you can actually acquire more. So I'm Oraedu, like I said, I'm a hospitalist here in Connecticut. I also am a founder of the Yel'Ora lifestyle and obesity coaching program for night workers. So a lot of us will be doing this the next couple of weeks and months, and socializing and eating at night. So the question here is, does late night eating cause weight gain? I know it does, but I hope by the time I finish, I'll convince you that if you eat late at night, perhaps you should reconsider. Okay, so So this is the thing about late night eating. So this is a gentleman. He's kind of scavenging. He's in the refrigerator at night, and it's important for you to know that 58% of Americans regularly eat after 8 p.m. 58%. So we eat late, and you can say that part of the reason is, the work schedule. You get home late from work and commute, and we socialize. And you should know that this habit of eating late may actually impact your sleep. And as a result of this eating too, there's a lot of money spent on weight loss programs. And the question here is, as healthcare provider, the government, policymakers, are we really missing a vital part of the puzzle? Are we really telling people how to eat, when to eat, what to eat? Are we really telling them the timing? Is that a missing puzzle? And that's why I'm doing this. As you get ready to socialize and enjoy your spring and summer and graduations, and you're going to stay up late, probably you should be mindful about how and when you eat. So my interest is chrononutrition, pretty much. And there's a lot of research going on about the connection between when you eat and your weight. So this is a little terminology that you should know. Okay, so this is like a little terminology about, underweight, about, your BMI 18.5. If it's less than 18.5, you're underweight. And of course, the healthy weight is 18.5 to 24.5. So when we talk about being overweight, it's a BMI, body mass index of 25 to 29.9. And of course, any BMI over 30 is considered obesity. And we have class 1, class 2, class 3. But I just want you to know that this BMI is a tool that we use to assess body fat and health risk. It's not the sole determiner of your overall health. And the reason I say this is that, when you look at athletes, when you look at football players, they are very bulky, but a lot of them, their BMI is going to be probably in the severe obesity range. But when you look at the body fat index, they actually had a lot of lean muscle. So that's why we always have to put this caveat that the BMI is a tool that we just use, but we also have to look at your overall health. And so when I talk about chrononutrition, I want to talk about this because chrononutrition means the study of the timing of food intake and how it affects your circadian rhythm, how it affects your metabolism, and the interaction between all of this and nutrition. So it just looks at the concept of that eating at specific times can impact your natural physiology and your energy balance, your metabolism, and your overall health. So it's an emerging body of evidence that when you eat is a problem. It can affect whether you gain weight. And this is a slide about metabolism. It's a big fancy, it's a big word. I just wanted to put one slide that it's just a series of chemical reactions that happen in the body that breaks down your food to provide energy. So it's just at the cellular level. After you've eaten, everything that happens at the cellular level, and you produce energy and produce heat. That's your metabolism. And so many things influence your metabolism, your genetics. Remember that I mentioned that almost 70% of your weight, your final weight, is your genetics. So many things influence this metabolism: your age, your gender, muscle to fat ratio, food you eat, physical activity, and hormone function. And I mean, I have a lot of big words here. I'm just trying to go through them so that we can all, understand where I'm going with this. So this is your natural circadian rhythm. When you wake up in the morning, you wake up in the morning here, when you're sharpest, 6 o'clock, you wake up, and then you go about your day. Your blood pressure is sharpest at 6 o'clock. When you wake up, melatonin secretion stops. You're very alert at 10 o'clock. And then, of course, the sun is out. So you're supposed to eat just along with your circadian rhythm, because circadian rhythm is your internal body clock, and it follows the sun. It follows light and dark cues. And it's regulated by the higher centers in your brain. So this circadian rhythm governs, when you sleep, when you wake up, your body temperature, your hormones, digestion. It's part of the reason when you eat at night, you may have digestive problems, because your body is programmed for you to eat during the day. And this is a slide that talks about that daytime eating. When you eat during the day, it prevents internal circadian rhythm, misalignment and glucose intolerance, because you have to know that eating at night distorts your hormonal balance, especially insulin secretion, and that is how you can be predisposed to diabetes. So I put this slide here for you to know that daytime eating prevents the disruption in your natural circadian rhythm. And of course, the sun. I love the sun. I tell people that sun as in S-U-N. To me, it means something utterly necessary. That's what I call the sun, S-U-N, for something utterly necessary. The sun is very necessary. It's good for your mentation. It's good for your agility. It's good for your digestion. It's good for vitamin D. It's good for it detoxifies your body. So our circadian rhythm is programmed, but the sun actually the most extent controls our circadian rhythm. You know, the light exposure regulates our circadian rhythm. That's more like what I mean to say. So this light exposure is linked to our sleep-wake, you know, circadian rhythm, physical activity. When your body is more awake, your eating pattern, your body temperature, and your metabolism. So the sun is very central to a lot of human, you know, physiology. And when you disrupt this sun, natural rhythm of the sun, and you know, waking up in the morning and going to bed at night and eating when the sun is up, when you disrupt it by eating at night, then it causes a lot of metabolic abnormalities. That's pretty much what it is. And then you have increased risk of obesity and diabetes. And so this is a little bit of, you know, how I'm just going to go through this about me. You already know about me. I do a lot of work at Stanford Hospital. I adjunct professor. I mentor medical students. I do radio, the Night Shift Lifestyle Show with Dr. Yel'Ora. I like to write. When I write, I feel like it's the best way I can relax. And I'm married, I have children. So I've talked more about myself. I want to hurry up and give others opportunity. And I created Night Shift Lifestyle, coaching program out of my own pain of working as a night doctor, taking care of my children, because my husband was working in New York. So it's my why. It's why I talk about a lot of disorders that affect people that work night shift. And I talk about late night eating, because a lot of people who work night eat at night, who work night shift tend to eat at night. So I am hyper focused on metabolic health and circadian rhythm. And that was why I started the coaching program. So I'm just going to tell you a little history, but I'm going to glance through this. How did we become nocturnal? This is the caveman, or a depiction of the caveman. Let's put it that way. So they were, fruit gatherers, the hunters, and this is what they do. They put, they try to make their own light. At night, for the most part, they go to bed. And then these two men, Benjamin Franklin discovered electricity, Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, and now we can stay awake at night. So with electricity and the light bulb, we started to socialize more at night. And that's how the night eating problem started, because during the caveman era, nobody stays awake at night because nighttime you go to bed. So now we have electricity, industrial revolution, people have more money, and we started to socialize and we start to eat. Eating is a social activity. We eat because we have conversation around food. And the food we like to eat is determined by so many, either your personal preferences, cultural or religious practices, agriculture, availability of food. These are some of our African sisters, and they eat. We like to eat with people. And so, early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Early to bed, go to bed at night, wake up in the morning, strong. It makes you healthy, because when you sleep and you get enough sleep and you eat before, you avoid eating at night, you stay healthy. You minimize risk of weight gain. And wealthy, because health is wealth. And wise, because we know that sleep deprivation is linked to cognitive problems, dementia. If you don't sleep enough, you're going to be at risk for that. So this is all the reason when your sleep-wake cycle is disrupted. So 24-hour clock, your circadian rhythm, is a system that takes care of your metabolism. It handles your metabolism. And of course, at night, if you eat at night, then your insulin sensitivity is very low, 20% in the evening. There's a drop in your insulin sensitivity at night and puts you at risk for diabetes and glucose intolerance. And of course, your digestion also slows down at night. So digestion is efficiency of your digestion is 10 to 15% at, less at night. So when you eat at night, you probably may have more, digestive problems, and most importantly, you gain weight. And of course, the melatonin secretion, the sleep hormone production begins 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. So these are all the processes that your circadian rhythm